House of Cards has returned. Hey guys, it's Merlin here, and I wanted to talk about House of Cards. Now, not too long ago, the third season was released, and over a couple days, I pretty much binge-watched that and got through it. And I just want to talk about it because House of Cards is awesome, and I felt like, I've kind of built up sort of a hype over this because I discovered this series kind of later on last year, and I watched the first two seasons on Netflix, and it's basically an adaptation of a novel that was adapted into a BBC series, which was in turn eventually adapted into the American series we have over here. And it basically follows Kevin Spacey playing Frank Underwood, as well as his wife, who basically have this manipulative political game to get themselves up into the annals of power in the White House until, spoilers, he becomes president, which is where he is now. Now, the great thing I love about House of Cards is how truly vicious these people are. This cloak and dagger stuff seems eerily quite possible. I feel like this is just the general attitude where some of it is just very mean and diabolical, and some of it borders on, well, pretty darn evil. I mean, I think it's quite possible that things like this have happened in government before. I mean, I don't know, but the point is, I feel like this kind of old school manipulative power play, this Machiavellian idea, is just really, really fascinating, culminating in the character Frank Underwood. I think he's honestly one of the great anti-heroes of modern television drama. I mean, right up there with Tony Soprano, Walter White, Barksdale, all these fantastic characters. I mean, really, I think Frank Underwood's honestly the best, and I think it's Kevin Spacey's best performance, and the rest of the supporting cast does a great job, and you can tell this definitely has its roots in David Fincher's production. But specifically talking about Season 3, one thing I thought was really interesting about this season was the fact that now that Frank has gotten to this height of power, he's kind of starting to lose it. It's almost like being the president, there wasn't really as much of a point to it. Like, it seems like the first two seasons, for the most part, Frank, whenever he was in a corner or things weren't going his way, he always had enough confidence and found a way to bounce back. And you kind of knew it was going to happen, sort of, but you weren't sure how. You didn't know how bad it was going to be, but he and his wife always bounced back. And the one redeemable quality about Frank Underwood, most of these big anti-heroes have at least one thing to make them human. As despicable as he is, I feel like, at least I felt like, in some way, even though he does have this desire for power and legacy, I feel like he kind of wants to do the right thing, because he does actually initiate policies to help people. And I'll be honest, he had this idea to create this act of basically giving everyone jobs, something controversial by taking away Social Security and stuff like that. But, as controversial as it is, I could kind of see some elements of it working. Kind of reminded me, oddly enough, of the movie Dave, kind of a similar plan there. But I actually believe that in his own way, he's trying to help his country, and I think he is patriotic. I guess that's one good thing. But the real thing that makes him human that I always felt was unquestionable, in his own way, he and his wife really do love each other. But I feel like once he got to the presidency, it seems like everything he's tried to push through, you realize that he really did work best behind the shadows in those particular types of positions in the Senate or even the vice presidency. And it feels like now that he's the president, he doesn't have that public face, nobody trusts him, and it's almost like once he became the president, he lost a lot of his power. It's kind of like in an episode of Justice League where Lex Luthor is gloating like, you really think I wanted to be president? No. If you know how much power I'd have to give up to be president, I think it's kind of mocking the position there. I mean, the president's often considered to be a figurehead. He does have a lot of power, but there's still a lot more power behind him. And it feels like Frank's kind of giving into that. It's actually, he's really suffering a lot more trying to keep a hold of that power since he's gotten there. And he's kind of slowly going downhill. And the way this season turned out, spoilers, he and Claire separate. She decides that she doesn't really care about this relationship. She's not having enough of the independence she wants because there was this whole blowover with the UN, and she was unable to keep the place as the UN ambassador. And they finally separated. And, I thought this season going in was one of the best ones. So far, I have to say, seasons 1 and 2 were really, really good. I really liked season 1 a lot because of Pete Russo's character. I think season 2's probably my favorite still so far, because as good as season 3 was, the one thing I don't like about House of Cards is that I really like Frank Underwood's character and his wife Claire's character and their arc, their interaction. That's the best part of the show, obviously. Most of the side characters and subplots, with one or two exceptions, I don't really care that much about, or at least not in comparison. They had this whole storyline with Doug, which I think honestly should have just been wrapped up in the previous season. They just kind of overly extended it, and I'm like, I mean, it was interesting what you did, but I felt like it kind of wasted some time. And then the cliffhanger with this one, I'm like, okay, well, I feel like they're just going to get back together, but whatever, it is what it is. So overall, I thought House of Cards Season 3 was good. Maybe not quite as good as Season 2, but I'm still willing to wait another year. I'm wondering how long the season's going to go, though. I think the next season should be really good as well. But if you guys have watched House of Cards, please let me know what you think. Just want to let you know it's a great series if you love political dramas and thrillers. Kevin Spacey blows out of the water. Really, it's a fantastic series. So, yeah, House of Cards Season 3. It was pretty good.